All right. I don't know if you covered this yet. I missed most of yesterday's stream. Yeah, I forgot to cover the Jeffrey Epstein file release story yesterday, but the dog va on Kombini
I
food.
always tell people this. If you come to Japan and you want to be in Tokyo and you want to go out and eat a bunch and you want to have a good time, 100% split up. There's 8 of you all coming. All do your own thing. Occasionally meet up. Book a nice restaurant for all of you. Eating out in Japan is very affordable. For the love of God, don't eat Kombini food every day. It's such a
He's wrong for the
waste. You'll pay like 200 yen extra more for a meal that you can get in like a ramen place or some other cheap places. You don't need to eat the Kombini food. Please don't. I made that mistake when I first came to Japan, and it's such a waste because the best thing that Japan has to offer is the food, in my opinion.
Don't at me, dude. This is a legit question. Have you slowed down in regards to the genocide in Gaza, or am I getting to the stream too late? No, I just started. Because I just started the stream. It has been literally not even a fucking full hour. I haven't even run my first top of the hour ad break yet. And motherfuckers are like, bro! Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. We went from Dance News Monkey to like only dance to the tune that I want, News Monkey. So fast. What the hell's going on? Anyway, at the top of the hour, you dance. Why do you love your egg sando so much? It tastes incredible. Tamago sando! It's just godlike. It's funny because you stopped talking about Ukraine and I don't remember anyone bitching, law. Well, it's a little different because like mainstream media is nonstop covering Ukraine and never really stopped covering Ukraine and was pro-Ukraine, and everyone was fucking unconditionally offering support to Ukraine, which and Ukraine got a shit ton of weapons, whereas with Palestine, like only independent outlets cover Palestine regularly from the perspective of Palestinians. So it's understandable that people will come in here and be like, have you been covering Palestine? Because like that's usually like that's probably part of the reason why a lot of people come in here and ask for that. Then there's also people who ask for it from a cynical perspective. Like where they're like, ooh, I bet you're done covering Palestine now, huh? Like to be like, ooh, it's killing your views. That's why you stopped talking about it. And it's like, first of all, it's been like 75 fucking days. And I have been consistently offering coverage every single day and will continue to cover it. Of course. But that chatter was earnestly asking. Yes, he wasn't like one of those shitters. The weather in Los Santos today is awful. It's 59 degrees. And I'm going to be honest, it's been raining. I worked out in the rain. It was terrible. Be cool. We good? You're good? Yeah, no, I said it already. I said it like this is not for views. This is something, it's like everything that I cover, I don't cover for views. If views happen to come as a consequence of my coverage, then great. I cover the news, whether you're here or you're not here, I'm covering the news regardless. And I'm covering issues that I care about regardless. Okay? The stuff that I do that's not directly related to the news, that's for the views so that people will come and watch my news coverage. Okay? There's a process. There's a process involved in all of this. When I do gaming or when I do any other kind of like fun reacts or whatever, or when I hit the variety news cycle, it's because I feel like I have a sense of obligation. Like I have a sense of purpose. And that purpose is to, reach a broad swath of the younger generation that I feel like comes in here and relies on me for news coverage, which is why
we're going to begin.
I need to cover more variety of news stories. Yeah. Also, yeah, if I wanted views, I would just do drama. Like that's always the best way to do it. Like, and there's fucking plenty of drama happening all around all the fucking time. I'd be doing nonstop drama coverage and then maybe a little bit, like a baby bit on the tail end. I'd be talking about like, ooh, a liberal streamer is in controversy again, mired in controversy. Like, the reason why I don't do that is because it's fucking stupid. Outside of Dream is pretty dry now on Dramaland? No, brother, it's never dry on Dramaland. It's never dry. Yeah, and people love it. Like, people love it. Even people who say they hate it, they still love it. All right. Debates get you the most views. That's not true. You haven't even covered half of what Twitter shit out last night. What did they shit out? Anyway. Colorado nonsense. Oh, yeah. People are very excited about the Colorado shit, which we're going to cover now. Colorado Supreme Court has removed Trump from the state's primary ballot for engaging in insurrection.
This morning with a stunning court decision involving the 2024 presidential election. And stunning is a word here. The Colorado Supreme Court has ruled that former President Donald Trump is not eligible to be on that state's Republican primary ballot and is, in fact, disqualified from being president again. In a 4-3 decision, the court ruled that Donald Trump violated the U.S. Constitution by inciting the mob that attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House with more on this. Ed, good morning to you. When I saw the breaking news banner on my TV, I swear to you, I thought I was reading it wrong. This was very stunning for a lot of people.
Well, good morning. It's important to remember this only applies in Colorado, but it hinges on a constitutional clause that dates back to the Civil War. If it stands, it would be unprecedented, but the Trump legal team says it's planning to appeal, likely setting up a big decision by the U.S. Supreme Court.
We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before.
Campaigning in Iowa last night, Donald Trump made no mention of his latest legal hurdle.
They're after you. I just happened to be standing in their way.
But the GOAT. That's the line. That's always the line. They're after you. I'm just standing in the way, folks. That's his number one line. It's so funny because it's like just straight up out of a Facebook meme. That is directly a Facebook meme that Donald Trump took and repeats over and over again like he came up with it in a way that is not dissimilar to your favorite Twitch streamer, Hasanabi Piker.
Late Tuesday, a divided Colorado Supreme Court declared the former president ineligible to run again in that state, citing the Constitution's insurrection clause. The legal challenge to Trump's eligibility is in response to his actions on January 6, 2021.
And we're going to the Capitol.
Section 3 of the 14th Amendment disqualifies officers of the United States who have engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding office. At issue in Colorado is whether the president is such an officer and whether Trump engaged in insurrection or rebellion. 4 of the 7 justices ruled yes to both questions. All 7 were appointed by Democratic governors. We do not reach these conclusions lightly, the court wrote, adding later their ruling takes the...
You mean the meme with the guy taking all the bullets and knives in the back as he shields a kid? That too. My thoughts on this is just extremely libbed up shit. Like this is the most, like, depending on what level of liberalism you're at, I would say that this is like maxed out. When your lib metrics are maxed out, this is what you do. You look at this and you go, oh my God, I'm fucking pogging my face off. Donald Trump is literally going to Colorado jail. Okay? It's over. He can't get in on the Colorado primary, and therefore it's the most Jover it's ever been. You know? That's it. Legal has the deets. Supreme Court will decide Trump's fate. Oh, legal.
Well, we knew it was going to end up in...
Ooh, dude, you know, sometimes you need the Eagle team. You don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle team. Bro, what is happening with the Midwestern Mark City was against it because it opens the door to have socialists taken off too. Okay, I'm losing my fucking mind. What is happening? We watched one video with Midwestern Marks in it, and now half of the chat is like constantly reporting on what the latest and greatest is happening. I don't care about what other commentators are saying on this matter, okay? What has happened? Like, what has happened in the world where we watch one fucking video and everyone's like, dude, you have to literally cover what he had to say about this. It's fine. I know we got a crossover audience. I have a crossover audience with Mike from PA. I have a crossover audience with Caroline. I have a crossover audience with Majority Report. I don't care. I have a crossover audience with Chapo. If you come in here and constantly be like, oh, this is what Chapo said, this is what Chapo said, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. I don't care. Okay? Please. And it's not, let me tell you something. It's not, I'm not criticizing him at all. I'm saying like the people I just brought up are my friends. You know, the people I brought up are people I like. It's just that, who cares? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Okay? We're covering the story. Jesus Christ.
Country into uncharted territory. The ruling would only apply to Colorado. Similar challenges in other states have failed or are still pending.
This is really an unprecedented and, to be honest, unexpected ruling.
CBS News election law expert David Becker.
What the Colorado Supreme Court has just done is to kind of kickstart the process by which the United States Supreme Court is likely to rule. And their ruling absolutely will have some impact on whether or not Donald Trump, if he gains the Republican nomination, is eligible to appear on the general election ballot.
The Trump campaign, which began fundraising off the decision within hours, says it's planning to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, calling the Colorado ruling a completely flawed decision. As for Trump's other Republican rivals, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy called the ruling wrong and incorrect. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said it should be reversed by the Supreme Court. And former governors Chris Christie and Nikki Haley had notably similar statements, saying the former president shouldn't be prevented.
Unless several other states follow suit, this means almost nothing in the Trump campaign. Brother, what are we talking about? There is no several other states that are going to follow suit. Even if they do, the Supreme Court will yeet this into oblivion. Obviously, the tricky question here is like, can the Supreme Court overrule, I guess, like the only controversial aspect of this, as far as I understand, is the Supreme Court overruling the decisions being made by a state directly, in the way that, like, is this a states' rights situation? Is this a states' rights phenomena? I mean, you're supposed to be, right? This is all of the reactionaries in the Supreme Court love the states' rights. No? So it's Jover for your Mandarin orange of a former president? No. No, but I love him. So that's the only thing. They can't, since this is an interpretation of the federal constitution. SCOTUS determines what the federal constitution means, not states. Sure. Honestly, I don't think you should be taken off the ballet. Bad precedent, no. I don't think it's going to happen regardless. I don't even care about like the actual precedent that it creates, because you want to know why I don't care? Because I know how Republicans operate and I know how liberals operate. You think, oh, they took Trump off the ballot one time, so now we can do the socialist thing. Now we can eat the socialists off the ballots. Okay. They were going to do that anyway if they wanted to. You're fucking ridiculous if you think that like this opens the door to do that. I think that is not necessarily the major point of contention here. It's just I don't even think it's that big of a story. I don't think it's that spicy in general. I think the Supreme Court's going to go and try to. The Supreme Court, I assume, is going to try to angle this in the most limited interpretation possible in an effort not to set a precedent that is far too vast. And that's it. I think that they're just going to severely, I mean, they're going to, dude, pass my life question. Can you please answer? Dude, shut up! Which side are you with the war that is am suffering from? Can you see my previous question? Palestinian chatter. Shut the fuck up. Hey there, this is actually my first time seeing people that talk about my country. There's a lot of people that follow that, like Abofla and other YouTubers that didn't talk about it anymore because they got in threat. I live there, not XP. Yes, I'm pro-Palestinian, okay? Shut up. We're covering something else. God damn. Go watch my YouTube. There's 20,000 motherfuckers in here, man. I can't fucking answer every single one of your goddamn questions. Stop spamming. Fuck. I love you, chatter, but I pulled the IDF on the chatter real quick, but see, look what you did. Every single person now in the chat's like, all right, time for my questions. Hello.
From running again by the courts, but by voters instead. Here at the White House and the Biden campaign, they had no comment.
Well, lots of people have lots of comments on this. Ed, we thank you. For more on the political and legal impact of the ruling in Colorado, David Becker rejoins us along with Major Garrett. He's our chief Washington correspondent. Gentlemen, it's great to have you both here, especially on this day-to-day. David, I want to start with you. You touched on it briefly, but can you explain exactly what this decision means and how big of a deal is it?
Yeah, you had it right, Gail, when you said this was stunning, but there is legal basis for this. The 14th Amendment exists for a reason, and the 14th Amendment says that someone who is an officer of the United States and who has taken an oath and who then engages in insurrection.
Bro probably lost his house and is not getting shouted by Hassan. First of all, it was a loving shout, and it wasn't about the house or his house at all. But it's like, bro, you can Google it. You know what I mean? I will always treat you the same way, no matter what your circumstances are. If you're capable of going on twitch.tv to watch my live stream, like, you can figure it out on your own, brother. Like, stop spamming.
Can't hold office as an officer of the United States. And these kinds of cases have been brought with regard to Donald Trump in many states all over the country. And up until now, every state has dismissed these cases on procedural grounds. They've said the Republican Party has a lot of leeway to decide who its nominee is, and so we're not going to inject ourselves at this moment. But Colorado is the first state where they found both that now the Supreme Court has found that he is an officer of the United States, the presidency is an office of the United States, and that he engaged in insurrection, and therefore, under the 14th Amendment, he's disqualified.
So, David, let me ask you this. The Supreme Court will likely rule on this. Is this a shortcut way to get the Supreme Court to rule on whether or not Donald Trump did, in fact, incite an insurrection?
I don't know if the Supreme Court of Colorado intended it as a shortcut, but that's how it's going to play out. And that's actually probably a good thing. It's important for a lot of people in the United States to know whether or not Donald Trump is a qualified candidate for the presidency. It's important to the Republican Party. They need to know if they have a qualified nominee. It's important to election officials who are printing ballots with candidates' names on them. And it's, of course, important to the voters who ultimately have to decide who they're going to vote for, who they can vote for. So it's good that the Supreme Court is going to take this up and hopefully rule on it quickly.
Major, do you think this ruling will impact Donald Trump's campaign? It was interesting. He made no mention of the ruling yesterday on the campaign trail.
He doesn't have to, Gail.
Yeah, he was too busy doing Hitlerian style politics on the campaign trail. Straight up being like, Hitler said the poisoning our blood thing they're saying, folks. Also, I agree with him in the most Hitlerian way possible.
He knows that this will create tremendous press attention. He knows, and this was predictable, and it happened, all the Republicans challenging him for the party's nomination rallied, if not to his defense, but to say something that they believe is a commonsensical proposition in this country, that courts shouldn't decide who's on the ballot. But that's not really the question. The question is, what does the Constitution say about your qualifications if you were president of the United States and were an active, if not active participant, a non-benign actor in an attack on the Capitol to prevent the peaceful transfer of power? That's the question the court was asked. The court didn't jump into this. The court was asked a central constitutional question, only asked in our entire history because of the actions of former President Trump. That's a moral question that will be adjudicated politically by the Republican Party, and for the moment, it will give Trump not only a lot of press attention, which he benefits from, but a rallying effect within the party itself. Long term, though, I'm not so sure it will be a net positive.
Yeah, do you guys see any scenario where he could be removed from the general election?
I do not.
I think, you know, it's hard to predict exactly what the Supreme Court will rule. If they agree with the Colorado Supreme Court that he is an officer of the United States and that he engaged in insurrection, and there certainly is evidence that would justify such a ruling, then he could be kept off of the general election ballot. And it's important for the Republican Party to know that as soon as possible.
I feel like you're on crack cocaine if you think this Supreme Court is going to rule in that direction. I think even liberal justices are going to not rule in that direction. Trump has literally quoted both fascist leaders from World War II. He quoted Mussolini in the 2016 campaign. I think people need to take that fact that Trump wants to be a dictator very seriously and that he should be elected. And that should he be elected, which is getting more and more likely by the day, that we as leftists need to be wary. Oh, 100%. 100,000%. He keeps saying he's going to be a dictator and shit. He's popping off. He's popping off big time. I think that even you will see even liberal justices like potentially align on this decision because it's ridiculous. I think being a 9-0 decision is more likely than them ruling for it. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be 9-0 most likely, but even then, yes, I get it. You're saying even 9-0 is more likely than a majority ruling in favor of the Colorado Supreme Court.
So they can select a qualified nominee who could ascend to the presidency if they want.
But the issue for the Supreme Court, I think David would agree with me on this, is did candidate Trump receive due process on the question of being an insurrectionist? And the Supreme Court could say, no, he hasn't been convicted of that. He hasn't had due process to answer that question. Of course, the Trump legal team is trying to delay any adjudication of that very question.
Yeah, that's the other part of this. Like, he's not convicted. Like, just because he's suspected or allegedly, responsible for an insurrection, when there's an active case happening, doesn't change the reality that he is innocent until proven guilty, at which point I feel like you can't really hit him with that. It doesn't say that he needs to be convicted in the 15th Amendment. Still, I feel like it's if your constitution is unclear on issues like that, it's a shit constitution. I think the SCOTUS in general will make a narrow ruling, and it will likely be 9-0. They'll basically say he can only be on the ballot, but punt on other stuff. The Jack Smith case is stickier.
Question here in the federal court in D.C. But the Supreme Court could say this is...
Hassan is MAGA deep down. This will be good for Trump in the end, only on day one, lol. Hassan is MAGA deep down. Yeah, famously, I am one of the biggest Make America Great Again defenders. Everybody knows this at this point. I love when liberals and Republicans completely align on this, like conservatives and Democrats and liberals completely align on this, and it's like, oh, Hassan actually loves Donald Trump.
Is an open question about the conduct of Trump. And therefore, he can't be removed from a ballot because we don't have a legally adjudicated answer to.
Yeah, this is it's pretty obvious which way SCOTUS goes on this. Is lib posturing all the way on the part of Colorado who gives a shit, free Palestine? I love the media making this seem like a very serious issue, though. Discord DMs, can you check? Jesus Christ. Okay, sure. Do you think... What, do you think mentally ill people like with autism or narcissistic disorder should be banned from running? It means that you can't run. But so can't Kanye, Reagan, or Trump. Wait, what? Did you just say I'm mentally ill with autism or narcissistic disorder? To the same degree as Donald Trump and Reagan and Kanye? What is happening in the chat?
To that insurrectionist question.
A lot of well.
All right, let's hear from the Eagle team, okay? Because when I have legal questions, okay, we have law tip givers and law understanders in the chat. Plenty of fucking, plenty of pre-law, plenty of 2L, 3L, but also even like actual bar passing ass labor lawyers and the like in this community. But you know what we don't have? Legal Eagle. So that's what I want to hear. I want to hear what he has to say. Nice sidestep. Yes, I'm avoiding this devastating question about me being narcissistic and autistic at the same time. Like, that's why I'm shocked to the core, and I can't take it. I can't actually respond to it because it fucking destroyed me.
In front of the Supreme Court at some point, but SCOTUS may decide this sooner rather than later, and that's good news for some and bad news for others. Now, Donald Trump basically says that the Constitution gave him absolute power to do whatever he wanted as president and without criminal prosecution.
Then I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president.
And former President Trump has asked an appeals court to dismiss one of the criminal indictments against him because of this alleged presidential immunity. But special counsel Jack Smith has now answered Trump's claim with a petition for certiorari that might as well be entitled, "That's not how this works, that's not how any of this works." And Smith doesn't want to waste any time. He wants the Supreme Court to decide this issue without waiting around for an appellate decision. So can Trump be tried, convicted, and punished for acts he committed while president, or is he absolutely immune from federal prosecutions for these alleged crimes? And what is the Supreme Court going to do about it? Now, on August 1st, 2023, a federal grand jury in Washington, D.C. indicted Donald Trump on 4 counts of attempting to interfere in the 2020 election. The indictment alleges that while Trump was still president, he participated in a conspiracy to defraud the United States, that he corruptly obstructed the certification of the presidential election results on January 6, 2021, and that he
This is not the Colorado one, right? This is the Jack Smith one, which I think is more I think is more important than the Colorado one anyway. Yeah. I thought he popped off. This is an older video, right? Legal Eagle did a new one today. No, this is from today, man. What? No. This is from today. The problem is Legal Eagle takes a long ass fucking time to make these videos because there's a lot of research and effort that goes into it. So the one he made is on the Jack Smith case, which in my opinion is still more important than the Colorado one anyway, which is why I wanted to take a look at this. I did think originally that this was the Colorado one, however. But I don't think this is it. Hawaii plans? Hawaii plans? Paper Nicole Piker? What is Hawaii plans? What the fuck is Hawaii? Why are you fucking asking this over and over again? Where do you find your vacation homes? Christmas in Hawaii? Christmas in Hawaii? Christmas in Hawaii? Christmas plans? Christmas plans? Christmas plans in Hawaii? Christmas plans in Hawaii? Hawaii. 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 Hawaii plans? Hawaii plans? Hawaii plans? Are you okay? I have Christmas... Wait. Christmas plans in Hawaii. No. Do you want me to go to Hawaii for Christmas? What's happening? What's going to happen in Hawaii on Christmas? Are you going to kill me? What is happening? Paper Nicole Piker. Why would your wife, Nicole Piker, kill you? Do you think I have a vacation home in Hawaii or something? What's happening? I am not going to be in Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii, and I don't plan on going anytime soon. Okay, we're going to get back to the Eagle team. Not just any legal team, but the Eagle team.
Conspired with other people to do the same, and that he violated one or more persons' constitutional rights to vote and have their vote counted. Now, federal district court judge Tanya Chutkan scheduled the trial to begin on March 4th, 2024, but Trump recently filed a motion to dismiss the indictment on the grounds that he has absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for acts taken within the outer perimeter of his official responsibilities, and that the indictment's allegations all fall within that scope. Trump also argued that double jeopardy principles and the impeachment clause barred his prosecution. Smith opposed Trump's motion on the grounds that a president does not have absolute immunity from federal criminal prosecution. The district court denied Trump's immunity claim and rejected the impeachment clause argument. Trump filed a notice of appeal to the D.C. Circuit and moved for stay of all proceedings in the district court while his appeal was pending. And under federal law and Supreme Court precedent, an appeal suspends trial proceedings, specifically anything, quote, involved in the appeal. So I think in an abundance of caution, Judge Chutkan has now halted most aspects of the case, although we don't know exactly how much of the case is halted and for how long. Trump's appeal on the immunity issue is an interlocutory appeal, An interlocutory appeal is an appeal to the Court of Appeals before a conviction or a sentence. And federal procedure states, quote, the filing of a notice of appeal confers jurisdiction on the courts of appeal and divests the district court of its control over those aspects of the case involved in the appeal. So consequently, Judge Chutkan's order pauses any further proceedings that would move the case towards trial or impose additional burdens of litigation on defendant. However, her order is limited in two respects. First, the state deadlines and proceedings are held in abeyance rather than permanently vacated, and Judge Chutkan said she would release the March trial date if jurisdiction were returned to her.
I don't know if I'm like libbed up on this shit, but I do feel like the Supreme Court, I don't know how narrowly the Supreme Court, not the Colorado decision, this is the other one, this is the Jack Smith one. I don't know how narrowly the Supreme Court could like define the circumstance to allow Trump to get away with not being criminally prosecuted for crimes committed in office, because it feels like if they were to defend him, if they were to deliberate in a way where Trump is above criminal conviction for anything he's done while in office, that doesn't just like set a scary precedent. That is the precedent. That makes you the God King. Like, if you're president, you're a king. Like, I joked about it before, but it's like prima nocta. Me lord, take my firstborn on her night of marriage. She is yours type shit. Okay? The entire purpose of this like fake ass Democratic Republic shit we have going on is kind of because we don't like the whole monarchy concept. So for me, it does feel somewhat strange to just undermine literally everything that the founding fathers intended for. Like, sure, they were, white land-owning, slave-owning aristocrats, and they were proto-capitalist dipshits, many of them. Some of them had some good ideas for sure. And they did some good things like, giving a big fuck you to England. Respect to that, okay? However, having said all that, there was like one fundamental principle that they kind of agreed on, which was that no matter what we do, we shouldn't do the whole monarchy thing, right? Like, that was a big deal. So I don't know how there's like any literalist, the textualist interpretation of the Constitution where you're like, oh no, actually the founding fathers did want a God King that is above the law, that certainly could get away with doing crimes. It's literally the fucking whole purpose of like, we can't agree on much, but that is the one thing that they were very openly against. Hassan Izabai says, there's quite literally one correct answer to this case. The president is not a king and is not above the law, therefore not immune from any criminal prosecution, state or federal, as that is what the founders literally created the position of the president to be, because, they didn't love the idea of a king. However, Lord knows how the fuck this case is going to, since the originalism is made up bullshit. Yes, I agree with the second thing that you're saying. However, and I say that all the time, it's just simply a way to make reactionary decisions seem like it's a way to make reactionary decision making in the Supreme Court seem like it's actually apt and actually intellectual and not simply just political posturing from the right. However, there's definitely no originalist interpretation that says the president can be above the law. Like, that's kind of the whole fucking point. If SCOTUS rules were Trump here, they are literally also rewriting history. They would literally be saying the Revolutionary War was definitely not fought because the American colonies were sick of the oppressive monarchy. No, but this is like beyond, like, for example, they did that. They already rewrote history when talking about like what the founders intended with respect to like abortion. Obviously, it didn't play a role in their, I guess, constitutional interpretation, constitutional law interpretation, but there was a lot of padding and there was a lot of massaging of the truth about what the founders thought about abortion, for example, even though they were pretty positive on it or didn't talk about it at all, right? So at the time, it was not even a question that like abortion was a common procedure that that people engaged in. So clearly, they did not have a leg to stand on within the framework, right? However, having said that, as far as like rewriting the entire reason why the United States of America exists, that I feel like is a relatively big fuck you. I don't know, maybe I'm too libbed up on America juice, where I personally think like America stands for something. I don't know. I feel like if there was one thing that America stands for beyond like, you know, what the continuation of white supremacist indigenous genocide and whatnot, there is like one thing that America stands for, and that is like not being a monarchy. Kind of the whole purpose. So I don't know.
Second, the court's other protective measures are not in abeyance, which means that Trump still has to follow his pretrial release conditions and the judge's gag orders. The judge also said her protective orders guiding discovery and jury procedures are still active, and it's theoretically possible the entire criminal process.
Yes, you're right, Chatter. You said, you always say Americans are overly vibes-based. This would go against the vibes too much. Yeah. Like, abortion definitely went against the vibes and definitely wasn't great. And definitely, you know, there was a lot of backlash from that. This, on the other hand, I feel like is like spiritually against everything that Americans have learned and Americans stand for. Like, we don't give a shit about women's bodily autonomy, okay? There's enough people in the country that will be like, yeah, this is really fucked up and I'm going to protest against it. But like, okay, but it's women, right? This, on the other hand, is like spiritually everything America stands for.
Prosecution from is not necessarily stayed. There's case law
like the
stating
one
that
thing
an
that
appeal only
was
divests the federal
objectively
court
a
over
good
control
thing
of, as I said,
that
those aspects of the
people
case
believe and
involved
learn in school, mind you.
In the appeal. Here, that could mean the rest of the case continues to move forward, but as Judge Chutkan notes, there is no circuit precedent on the court's protective orders, quote, much less instructive cases in the context of an interlocutory immunity appeal. The Supreme Court recently stayed an arbitration case in its entirety because, quote, the question on appeal is whether the case belongs in arbitration or instead in district court. The entire case is essentially involved in the appeal. So here we don't know exactly what a claim of presidential immunity will do to the case as a whole, but clearly there will be delays in some respects. Now, obviously you're gonna want a good lawyer to argue in front of the Supreme Court, but if you want a great lawyer, my firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've been in a car crash, suffered a data breach, or have a workers' comp or social security disability issue, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney who can. And it's always important to talk to a lawyer right away so you can get the best representation and find out what your options are. So just click on the link in the description for a free consultation with my team. Because you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle Team. Link is below. But rather than wait for the appeals court to rule, Smith filed a petition for certiorari requesting that the Supreme Court
Yeah, but the abortion thing has actual impact on the majority of the population. Yeah, 100%, which is why people are protesting it. But once again, I think people care more about spiritually what America is and what they've been taught from since birth than they care about women's issues. And they certainly, the majority does care about women's issues, especially when it comes to abortion. Does that make sense?
Expedite Trump's appeal from the district court order. And Trump opposes this motion even though he wants the case dismissed. Now, if this appeal goes forward on an ordinary or even expedited timeline, the Supreme Court would not decide it until probably next term in 2025. And barring something completely unforeseen, Trump will be the Republican Party's nominee for president. Then if Trump is elected, he might argue that the case can't move forward because sitting presidents can't be prosecuted, or he might just dismiss the case himself. So the first question is, can Smith bypass the Court of Appeals? Trump World has reacted to Smith's move with the typical understatement. For example, quote, crooked Joe Biden's henchman, deranged Jack Smith, is so obsessed with interfering in the 2024 presidential election with the goal of preventing President Trump from retaking the Oval Office, as the president is poised to do, that Smith is willing to try for a Hail Mary by racing to the Supreme Court and attempting to bypass the appellate process. But in opposing the government's motion, Trump complains that it took too long for the government to prosecute him, so now the court should take as long as possible to dismiss the case against him. Quote, the prosecution waited over 2 years years to bring this lawless case, and then sought an extraordinarily expedited trial calendar, demanding that jury selection begin in December 2023. Notwithstanding, there is a process by which the Supreme Court can weigh in before an appeals court renders a decision. Federal law says, quote, an application for the Supreme Court for a writ of certiorari to review a case before judgment has been rendered in the Court of Appeals may be made at any time before judgment. And when is it okay to ask for an expedited review of this type? Well, when, quote, the case is of such imperative public importance as to justify deviation from normal appellate practice and to require immediate determination in the court. And rather than being a liberal conspiracy, it's a process by which the Supreme Court can issue a decision without having to wait for the lower court of appeals, often when things are incredibly important for the country, and also when it doesn't make any sense to wait for the Court of Appeals if the Supreme Court is going to have the final word on the decision anyway. Smith argues that this is obviously a case of imperative public importance. The amenability to criminal prosecution of a former president of the United States for conduct undertaken during his presidency. It requires no extended discussion to confirm that this case, involving charges that respondents sought to thwart the peaceful transfer of power through violations of federal criminal law, is at the apex of public importance. The charges implicate a central tenet of our democracy. And there is some precedent to support the idea of the court acting quickly to resolve a claim of presidential immunity. As the government wrote in its briefing, quote, when the government sought certiorari before judgment in the United States versus Nixon, a case presenting similarly consequential issues of presidential privilege, the court granted the petition and resolved the constitutional question expeditiously so that the trial could begin as scheduled. And in the Nixon case, the court granted cert and issued an opinion just 16 days later, in part so that one of the Watergate criminal trials could proceed. Smith argues that, quote, this is a quintessential example of an important question of federal law that has not been, but should be, settled by this court. And the Supreme Court has never directly addressed criminal immunity, even though it comes up every time a sitting president orchestrates a burglary, has sex with an intern, or tries to overthrow the elected government. And Trump's lawyers responded by accusing Jack Smith of trying to cancel Christmas and scolding the special counsel for trying to make the court staff miserable during the holidays. That's not a joke. That's actually what they wrote in their briefing. Quote,
That's God, they are, bro, Trump's fucking legal team is insane. It is literally the clown show. It is a clown fiesta. How the fuck? Did he actually run out of lawyers? Like, what the fuck is happening? What a defense, dude.
quote, it's as if the special counsel growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming, but how? Now, that's probably not what I would write in my own Supreme Court briefing, but you gotta hand it to him. It's memorable, at least. And Trump argues that the March 2024 trial date itself is unconstitutional and that the public interest weighs strongly against the request for
This is like some bird law shit, brother. This is literally fucking... Better Call Saul has destroyed an entire generation. Okay? I think every lawyer fucking saw Better Call Saul and was like, I'm gonna do, that's me. That's me for real. And with Donald Trump, he just has run out of lawyers in general. So that's precisely why his lawyers are doing Better Call Saul shit like this.
Review. Trump contends that expedited consideration would violate President Trump's due process and Sixth Amendment rights, among others. And he argues that it would deprive him of the time necessary to prepare his defense, since the case includes 11.5 million pages of discovery. Though this does ignore an important fact, which is that the immunity issue is largely a matter of law, not fact. And if the Supreme Court agrees with Trump that he is immune from prosecution, then there's no need to read the 11.5 million pages of documents because the case would be over. And the Supreme Court quickly agreed to expedite consideration of Smith's petition. Now, this is not the same thing as agreeing to decide the case before the appeals court makes a decision. This is a decision to decide whether to decide that case up front. And Smith is taking nothing for granted. He can currently file a motion to expedite proceedings in the DC Circuit, asking for an expedited schedule that will ensure that a decision is made fast enough that the Supreme Court would hear it during the current term. The DC Federal Appeals Court granted the government's request to expedite consideration of Trump's appeal, and the appeals court has set deadlines for briefs to be filed between December 23rd and January 2nd. Now, what about the merits of the case? Well, American presidents enjoy absolute immunity from most civil lawsuits involving conduct that occurred during their presidential terms. The Constitution does not explicitly say that the president actually has any litigation immunity because of his role as chief executive, but this immunity exists by judicial interpretation. And in practice, it means that a president is given the freedom to exercise his official duties without being exposed to litigation for civil damages. And in Nixon versus Fitzgerald, a 5-4 Supreme Court ruled that a president is entitled to absolute immunity from legal liability for civil damages based on his official acts, including acts on the outer perimeter of his duties. The court defined a president's official duties quite broadly to prevent future presidents from being sued for, quote, virtually every allegation that an action was unlawful or was taken for a forbidden purpose. Now,
yeah, which, you know, it almost ties back into the whole concept behind we don't ever prosecute presidents or even like secretaries of state for war crimes, because then all of a sudden, well, every single president is a war criminal and every single secretary of state is a war criminal, and most people in the American State Department are engaging in either direct or indirect ways of doing war crimes. So what are you going to do, right? And that would not be good in the eyes of the American government and also capital owners who've propped up these war criminals who benefit from the war crimes in general and imperialism continuing. So that's, you know, it's part of the process, I think. But I do feel like Trump has gone above and beyond in a way that is, how do I describe it? I think Trump has gone above and beyond in a way that is so like personally unique to Donald Trump that you can't really hit other previous or, you know, future presidents and actually target them under similar reasons. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because it's like there's a difference between, you know, trying to sue Barack Obama for droning and extrajudiciously killing an American citizen, which will never happen because that would open up the floodgates to every single president getting hit with similar charges, versus Donald Trump so specifically and so uniquely engaged in criminal misconduct, allegedly, that I don't think you can, I don't think that unique case translates to other presidents in a similar capacity. This is a good take, actually. Yes, all presidents are criminals, but their crimes are furthering America's interests across the globe. Trump's crimes were just to further enrich himself and were not in America's interest, so he has to go. Exactly. Because it's like Nixon. It's not, you know, it is similar to Nixon in that sense, where it's like petty, personal, it doesn't have anything to do with like, it doesn't really have anything to do with the American interests.
Now, the contours of immunity from civil liability are still being defined. In Clinton versus Jones, the Supreme Court gave Paula Jones the green light to sue Bill Clinton for sexual harassment that happened before he was president. And when E. Jean Carroll sued Trump for defamation after he said that she lied about sexual assault, he asserted that he had immunity because he called her a liar while he was president and his statements were included in the outer perimeter of his official duties. But last week, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals—
I do love that. He was like, yeah, I was telling her that she was a liar presidently. Like, I don't think you understand. I was doing this because I had to do it in a presidential way. Okay? When I serve you the top of the hour ad breaks, I'm doing it in a presidential manner. Okay? It's not just like any old regular old top of the hour ad break. I'm serving it to you in a way that is a part of my duties. And then telling you, if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime. Yeah. Exactly. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now, but in a presidential manner.
Ruled that Trump waived immunity. The first time a court has held that presidential immunity was waivable. And Trump also raised immunity as a defense to lawsuits filed by Capitol Police officers and members of Congress who assert that Trump incited a riot on January 6th, but a 3-judge panel of the D.C. Circuit rejected this claim. The court held that Trump's remarks on that day were not necessarily within the outer perimeter of his official acts. It's possible that they were, and it's possible—
Okay, but he's winning in the polls and kicking our ass currently. The voters don't feel this way, so it doesn't matter. Trump isn't going anywhere. Okay, so a couple things. First and foremost, I know I haven't really talked about the polls and stuff all that much, But something you have to remember is that we are still very far out from the election. Okay? We are still very far out. We're still very far out from the election, and things can change. Okay? It doesn't seem good, and it certainly is not good, but there's still a lot of time. Now, does that mean Biden is somehow going to become more telegenic and more kinetic and more youthful in the next year? No, because his race is not against Donald Trump. His race is against Father Time. And Father Time always wins, okay? His race is against the Grim Reaper, motherfucker. And honestly, doesn't matter. He's always trekking towards that goal. So time is actually not a good thing for Biden. Having said that, however, who knows? Who knows what happens in a year? It should never be this close. But it is regardless. It's just where we're at. Nice one, Sanctimonious. That's a terrible... Dude, that's worse than Donald Trump calling Ron DeSanctimonious. That shit does not hit at all.
Well,
Anyway.
they weren't. That will have to be decided at trial. And when he acts outside of the functions of his office, he does not continue to enjoy immunity from damages liability just because he happens to be president. Rather, as the Supreme Court made clear in Clinton versus Jones, a president's official act immunity by nature does not extend to his unofficial actions. When he acts in an unofficial private capacity, he is subject to civil suits like any private citizen. But the bigger question is, what about criminal liability for acts which occurred during the presidency? Now, Donald Trump wants the same circuit court that decided the Capitol Police case to rule that he can't be criminally prosecuted for anything he did while president. Now, no court has ever ruled that a sitting president is immune from all criminal liability while president. However, Trump is arguing a school of thought known as the unitary executive theory. And this theory was largely developed by Antonin Scalia while he served in the Nixon administration. Now, according to this theory, every power not expressly granted to the judiciary or the legislature is given to the president as part of his duties to faithfully execute the law. And it postulates that the entire federal government serves at the command of the president, and neither Congress nor the courts have a right to check the president's orders. And there are some scholars that extend the unitary executive theory to make the president immune from criminal prosecution. However, there have been some roadblocks to this idea. For example, in 2020, the Supreme Court ruled against Trump's version of the unitary executive theory in a case where he challenged New York's right to subpoena his business records for alleged financial crimes. In Trump versus Vance, the court rejected the proposition that a sitting president can use his powers under Article 2 of the Constitution to assert immunity from criminal investigation. Then in Trump versus Mazars, the Supreme Court ruled that the president wasn't immune from congressional subpoenas. Investigation is different from prosecution, though. The Justice Department has long taken the position that a sitting president could be investigated but not charged with a crime until after he leaves office. This is why Robert Mueller's team prosecuted Trump's associates but did not charge Trump with crimes, though the Justice Department's reasoning doesn't have the force of law and the analysis is a bit shaky. However, even the DOJ agrees that a president can be prosecuted after his term ends. But former President Trump has gone a step further in asserting that a former president can never face criminal prosecution for acts that they did while president unless they were impeached and convicted in Congress. Now, Judge Chutkan has rejected this out of hand. Quote, "The Constitution's text, structure, and history do not support that contention. No court or any other branch of government has ever accepted it, and this court will not so hold. Whatever immunities a sitting president may enjoy, the United States has only one chief executive at a time, and that position does not confer a lifelong get-out-of-jail-free pass. Former presidents enjoy no special conditions on their federal criminal liability. Defendant may be subject to federal investigation, indictment, prosecution, conviction, and punishment for any criminal acts undertaken while in office." And in Nixon versus Fitzgerald, the Supreme Court previously affirmed that there is no provision in the Constitution conferring criminal immunity.
This is also pretty funny because, like, in the eyes of Americans, like, this type of shit is exactly like what we say China is doing, or what we say like any of our foreign adversaries are doing. You know what I mean? Like, this is exactly what that type of shit is, right? Like, I don't know what the legal process for the fucking supreme leader is in any of these other countries, okay? And whether they are, whether they're like allowed to be charged or anything like that. I'm sure that's very difficult, right? to hit Xi Jinping with any kind of like serious criminal charges. I don't know. Maybe there is some rules or whatever. I don't know how it's called. How it's how that is ever pursued, right? However, having said that, let's say they didn't have it. Okay? Let's say they did not have that. And then they made this decision in their own like court structure. Let's say in the past you could actually criminally prosecute previous leaders, and now Xi Jinping has made a decision to actively undermine that. I mean, that's major news, and it should be major news. Like that would never be dropped. It's like I always want to do a series of like covering America as though in the same ways that like America covers foreign adversaries. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it would be significantly more objective in its coverage if we were to, for example, look at prisons as work camps. You know what I mean? Because they are. They're no different than gulags. 100%. That's what a fucking prison is in the United States of America, where slavery is legal in prisons. Or, the nine appointed lifetime position individuals have the capacity to offer, or that were appointed by the former leader of the country, the former Supreme Leader Donald Trump, and the three appointees, including the rest of the, creating a super majority of right-wing reactionary decision makers, have decided that the former Supreme Leader actually has God King infinite powers over the criminal justice system and cannot ever be prosecuted for crimes committed while they are in the Supreme Leader position. And yeah, Joe Biden, former Supreme Leader Obama's handpicked successor, that's a good take. Joe Biden, former Supreme Leader Obama's handpicked successor, has criticized the decision made by the 9 appointed lifetime court-appointed justices.
Memo from the Department of Justice's Office of Legal Counsel confirms that, quote, the Constitution provides no explicit immunity from criminal sanctions for any civil officer, including the current president. And it appears the framers of the Constitution included immunity for other federal officials, such as members of Congress, who are protected by the speech and debate clause, but they didn't give this kind of immunity to the president. And as for Trump's assertion that the impeachment judgment clause grants him immunity, this clause says, quote, judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States, but the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. Now, Trump says this means that he can't be indicted, convicted, or punished unless the Senate convicted him at his impeachment trial. Judge Chutkan so far has said that the first part of the clause was meant to distinguish the presidency from British tradition, in which an impeachment conviction could result in additional penalties like fines and even execution. And the second part of the impeachment clause that says the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law, Judge Chutkan concluded that this means that further punishment by the courts is possible. Trump argues that it's only possible if the president is in fact convicted during impeachment. And while Trump's argument already has traction with Justice Alito, who discussed it in a dissent in Trump versus Vance, Judge Chutkan wrote that even if Trump's interpretation was valid, it would only protect the president while he was in office, which has been the OLC's position since the Nixon era. And Trump's argument would undermine accountability for other law-breaking officials because it would, quote, apply not only to the president, but also the vice president and all civil officers of the United States who may likewise be impeached. And the order discusses the history of criminality by executive officials. Vice President Aaron Burr was indicted even though his impeachment trial did not end in conviction. Vice President Spiro Agnew was indicted despite not being impeached and eventually resigning and entering a no contest plea. And in one of the more ridiculous incidences in presidential history,
this is the speed ticket, isn't
President
it?
Grant was cited for reckless driving of horses.
Yeah.
And then the next day he did it again. An officer arrested and fined Grant, but Grant did not argue that he was immune from prosecution. Prior cases deciding issues of presidential immunity addressed the Article 2 interests of the presidency. For example,
it's pretty fire reckless driving of a horse is awesome.
Nixon versus Fitzgerald was about a president allegedly injuring individuals who had to sue for damages. But both the DOJ's legal team and the Trump legal team are gonna need a lot of coffee over the holidays to write their briefs, due right before Christmas and right after New Year's. Luckily, they can get some great coffee from today's sponsor, Trade Coffee. Trade's great because not only do they have a huge selection of your favorite coffees, but they have a fine-tuning matching process that helps you discover fresh coffee based on your taste preferences. Oh, hey, and this holiday season, Trade is the perfect gift for any coffee lover. There's 2 ways you can gift Trade. You can gift a subscription or a gift box like this one.
You would have gotten so many DUIs 200 years ago. Bro, honestly, I don't even understand how the fuck that works because it's like the horse is doing the driving, dog. It's literally, hey, guess what, dude? That's the real FSB or FSD, okay? That is the real full self-driving, automated driving process. Like, the horse isn't fucking drunk. Who gives a shit?
For a coffee subscription, all you have to do is choose how much you want to spend, meaning the number of bags of coffee that your friend or loved one will receive, and then you can personalize the rest with Trade's coffee quiz. Or you can get a coffee gift box. I can personally tell you that the gift boxes are amazing. I got one with chocolate.
You're going with the people don't speed, horses speed argument? No, I think you can speed on a horse for sure and go over the speed limit or recklessly drive, but if you're doing a DUI, it's a little bit different maybe. Like, solid defense. I'm just saying, dog. What the fuck are you talking about? Like
with chili and caramel syrup. Usually caramel syrup.
A horse is basically automated
tastes
driving.
like artificial goo, but this stuff is so incredible. I'm actually surprised that there's any of it left because I was fully willing to swig it directly. And then the bag of coffee it came with was great. It matched the syrups perfectly. Now, I have very specific tastes in coffee. I basically want something that tastes like hot chocolate and pairs well with milk, and Trade is always able to find me the perfect bean. And let's be honest, you claim you want a rich dark roast, but you really want a coffee milkshake. But either way, Trade has you covered. And if you already know what you like, then they probably already have your favorite roaster in stock at a great price. You can even choose whole beans or your preferred grind. You can get it delivered straight to your door or straight to the door of a lucky friend or loved one. So if you love coffee or are looking for a great gift this holiday season, try Trade Coffee. All you have to do is click on the link in the description or the one that's on screen right now. And not only will you get your first bag free, you'll also get free shipping. So get your first bag free by clicking.
This is not an ethical reaction. You can't talk about horse riding DUIs during the ad. Why the fuck not? I absolutely can. Ironically, it's the best time to talk about a fucking horse DUI because guess who you would call if you were ever drunk driving on a horse? Okay? Guess who you would call? You'd call the fucking Eagle team. You wouldn't just need a legal team. You would need the Eagle team, dog. Fuck you mean? What if the horse is drunk? I feel like this actually sets that's a dangerous precedent, in my opinion. Like, that is definitely shocking and scary to think about.
They have just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado.
Dude, this guy's the biggest dick rider of all time, by the way. Going back to the Colorado situation, Vivek Ramaswamy came out and was like, take me off the Colorado ballot too, sir. My man is gargling on this shit. He's blowing bubbles on it. You're a fucking bitch, Vivek.
A ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver that is a bastardization of the 14th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. This was a provision, Section 3, that was designed to bar Confederate members, people who switched to the Confederacy, from actually being able to serve. That's very different than what's at issue here, to say the least. This is a hollowed out husk of what the country was built on. The basic principle that we, the people, select our leadership, not the unelected elite class in the back of palace halls. That's old world Europe, not the United States. That's why I'm making a pledge today that I will withdraw, I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing, or else these Republicans are simply complicit in this unconstitutional attack on the way we conduct our constitutional republic. I refuse to be complicit in that. I think what they're doing is wrong. And I think it's up to Republicans to step up and stand up with a spine for our country's future. That's really what's at stake, whether we, the people, actually have a say in deciding who leads this country. Yes, it would be easier for other Republicans like me who are running in this race to say, hey, if Trump is sidelined, there's our opportunity.
Dog, you're not even winning in that situation. You're polling at like 1%. Shut the fuck up. He's like, oh, yeah, it would be so easy for me if Donald Trump was sidelined and I would be able to, win Colorado. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Okay. What the fuck are you talking about? Bro really thinks he's part of the team. I love that his strategy is just like gargling, throating Trump as aggressively as he possibly can. His goal is basically how much of Trump's dick can I put down my throat with the hopes that maybe I'll get like 3% in New Hampshire. Okay? You're ridiculous, dude. Have some fucking decency and self-respect. Fucking resign, okay? Get out of the goddamn race.
No doubt other candidates are probably privately celebrating with their corporate sponsors. That's not the right thing to do. I think the most useful thing that every GOP candidate can do right now is to join me in that pledge. I'll say that I will withdraw from that Colorado GOP primary ballot until Trump's name is restored. This belongs to the people, not to the unelected Democratic cabal.
It is ironic. They did fly the Confederate battle flag during the insurrection, which is ironic, by the way. Yeah. I remember. That was cool. Yeah, classic Republican iconography, as everyone knows. You know, famously.
Of judges in Colorado or any other state. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Chris...
I'm not jealous of his cut. His hairline has gone in an abysmal direction. I am, however, incredibly jelly bean by the sick-ass RV he's inside of. This is the craziest RV I've ever seen. It seems like it's one of those, like... It seems like it's one of those, like, wild-ass, like... It seems like it's one of those wild-ass RVs.
Christie do the same thing, or else they're complicit in what the security state is trying to do to shut down Trump. I stand by that, and I expect them to do the right thing.
Well, we knew it was going to end up in front of the Supreme Court.
All right, we watched this already. Dan Crenshaw said maybe he should just withdraw from all the other states too. God damn, he's right, though. Damn, bro. Imagine getting fucking ass clapped by Dan Crenshaw. Letting Dan Crenshaw have a good one on you is just, is immediate grounds for resigning in disgrace. What? Did you see this Alex Jones tweet? No.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat.
Someone said I'm in it.
Download and do not play.
I think we can all agree that this new video.
Wait, it's actually zombies. They're skeletons.
It's the two fake.
I think. Am I in this ad? I think so. Someone said I was like used in this ad. Oh, here it is.
A video game.
God, this is so well made. What the? God damn it! No! 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 They used me. It's just they used my real opinions. Fuck! Bro, that's crazy. That's crazy. They put me in a fucking Alex Jones ad. Jesus Christ. It's time. It's time to call the Eagle team, dude. I don't just need a legal team. I need the Eagle team. I just love saying that. It's so stupid. Okay. Is karma for your TTS? I can't believe, dude, I get clip shipped so much. Oh my God. How much do they pay you? $0, my man. They do not have, I never also signed off on this ad using my likeness. What am I going to do? Sue Alex Jones? How am I going to sue Alex Jones, brother? He doesn't have no money. He's already sued. He's got like, it's like, he has to be paying, what, like $7 billion of the fucking victims of Sandy Hook and their families and shit. What is he going to do?
Trump on those grounds, or that he's been convicted. So it is in doubt. And when you look at what, I just think the Democrats wake up every morning, Emily, and they look at the calendar. The iPhone says January 6, 2021. The date never changes. And then they get an electric vehicle and go get an abortion. I just described the Democrats.
Fucking got him. Dude, that's right. I love getting in my EV and getting an abortion while thinking it's January 6th.
On those grounds, or that he's been convicted. So it is in doubt. And when you look at what, I just think the Democrats wake up every morning, Emily, and they look at the calendar, the iPhone says January 6, 2021. The date never changes. And then they get in the electric vehicle and go get an abortion. I just described the Democratic Party to you in 7 seconds. That's it. That's what I see. But
she's so right. That's literally, how does she nail it? God, she just read us to filth, man. She just fucking did that damn thing. Okay. We're going to talk about 2 things from Israel, Palestine. Oh, dude, this is awesome, by the way. This is an older poll, but it is very funny. More than half of voters think Trump will act like a dictator if elected, which is like, duh, no shit. But also, he's still winning, which means that there are people who are like, he's going to be a dictator, and I like that. Okay? There are a lot of people, in my opinion, who are going, he's going to be a dictator, and I think that's awesome. The median American voter, baby. The median American voter says Donald Trump is going to be a dictator, and I think that's cool. I think that's A-okay. Fucking awesome. Yeah. The anti-God squad. The anti-God squad rolling down the streets, fucking looking to murk people for their anti-Christian behavior. I am so going to jail if that's the case. Imagine the anti-Christian, the anti-Christian sentiment seeping out of every orifice here at the Hasanabi broadcast. 100% I'm going to jail. I'm so jailed at that point.
Gaza enters its 3rd month. It has become more.
So we're going to watch a Chris Hayes video on this. People were saying that this is bad, but some people were saying that this is good. So I am going to take a look at it.
More difficult to properly communicate the scale and depth of misery and destruction it has visited upon the people of Gaza. Over the past week, there have been 3 incidents that I think illustrate just how indefensible Israel's current campaign is on moral, strategic, and political grounds. First, of course, is the horrifying news of the death of 3 Israeli hostages shot and killed by Israeli soldiers in Gaza. Now, to be absolutely clear, the blood of those men is on the hands of Hamas, which committed a war crime by kidnapping them and putting them in danger. Alongside rage at Hamas for their deaths, the deaths have understandably also...
Yeah, except, like, sure, I mean, I get spiritually, I understand where he's coming from, except they weren't killed by Hamas. Like, they were kidnapped by Hamas, but they weren't killed by Hamas. Like, they were actually under Hamas apprehension as hostages for, like, 70 plus days with no execution, right? Like I get what he's trying to say, okay? I understand it. It's like, well, if Hamas didn't kidnap them, they wouldn't be in fucking if Hamas didn't kidnap them, they wouldn't be in Gaza and therefore would not be shot by the Israeli occupying force that kills civilians indiscriminately, right? Like, I see what he's trying to say. They'd still be alive if Hamas hadn't kidnapped them. Fair, but also at the same time, they were kidnapped by Hamas, and Hamas didn't kill them. Israel did, right? So, like, there was a 68-day, at the very least, time frame where these 3 people were apprehended and kidnapped and held hostage by Hamas, and Hamas did not kill them. So just something to consider. Like, they did have a better track record of not killing these 3 hostages than the Israeli occupying force did, because the Israeli occupying force is the one who killed these hostages. Just saying. Like, in this situation, it's like, would you rather be kidnapped and not killed versus would you rather be kidnapped and then killed? I feel like people would go, I would rather be kidnapped and not killed, and then, we do a facilitation of a ceasefire, and then I can return home. without being killed by the Israeli occupying force. You know, that's like the easiest decision of all time, it seems. But anyway, yeah, I got the TOS times. Thank you. Let's continue.
Occasioned profound sadness and anger at the government in Israel. After all, the only thing that has actually delivered safety to a large number of hostages has been the week-long cessation of hostilities in November and extended diplomacy. Families of the hostages have long warned that the war itself risked killing their loved ones, and now that very eventuality they warned of has come to pass. Adding to the sense of betrayal are the circumstances of how these 3 hostages died. According to the Israeli government itself, they were shirtless. One was carrying a white flag, makeshift, when they were shot and killed by Israeli troops. I want you to think to yourselves for a moment. Why were 3 shirtless men waving a white flag shot by soldiers?
I don't
and
know.
Was this the first time such a thing has happened in this conflict?
I don't believe so, Chris Hayes. Perhaps it has happened before and has been a serialized version of murder, I think. Good question, Chris Hayes. Now, I think, like, no, he's asking a rhetorical question. He knows the answer. Okay? This is for liberals. He's doing a good job. Okay? He popped off with the deaths are on Hamas's hands, certainly. And then now he's doing, you know what this is like? This is like when motherfuckers come into my chat and go, I'm actually pro-Palestinian, but Israel does have a right to kill as many Palestinian children as possible, Hassan, and you getting in the way of that actually seemingly is bad optics, right? You know how, like, people lie and say they're pro-Palestinian in this chat? In a way, Chris Hayes is doing that, in my opinion, in the opposite direction, where he's like, you know, Israel's pretty infallible and pretty good, but also, what's up with the fucking baby murder? It's like that. He's basically saying, like, he's basically doing that thing. Yeah, this is good. This is good for the boomer liberals who watch Chris Hayes, okay?
Have Palestinian civilians been shot and killed in similar circumstances? Which brings us to the second incident over the weekend. 2 Palestinian women, a mother and a daughter, who along with other Christian Palestinians had taken shelter in a Catholic church in Gaza City. Where
Chris Hayes is trying to spin a war crime. This is fucking gross. Yes, brother, it's not for you, okay? I'm sorry. I am not going to fucking yell at the one dude, okay? The one white guy who is cutting a 10-minute fucking video shitting on, or not even shitting on, but like directly in the most liberal way possible, in the most liberal, aesthetics-focused, appropriate way possible, saying the things that Israel is doing, okay?
Shot and killed.
It's not for you. You already get the news from me. You already know. You already established your point of view. You already are aware of all these things. Chris Hayes, on the other hand, is not talking to you. He's talking to your mom and dad. And if he's talking to your mom and dad, he can't open up with the Israeli occupying forces fucking bloodthirsty and doing ethnic cleansing and no one is stopping them. That's not going to happen, right? You can't do that. Dude, think about what fucking happened to Ali Velshi. Think about what happened to Mehdi Hassan. Like, they didn't do that either, mind you, but they were at least, like, scary looking when they were talking about Israel and are biased, right? They're biased towards Palestinians. Why are they biased with a hard B? Because, you know, their complexion is a little maybe too brown. Maybe their names are a little too scary, right? They're Arabs, brother. Ali Velshi is not gone. He's been circulating through the through all of the different shows, but there was a point where they were considering not shelving him, but basically they restructured it. Mehdi Hassan, on the other hand, has lost his Peacock show and is now basically just a secondary anchor on the network, which will still air on other shows and stuff, but like he's not, his show is gone. Bro, how does a foreign nation have so much power over the USA? It's not a foreign nation. It's a part of the United States, brother. Let's be fucking real. Okay? Israel is a part of the United States of America. Israel is also a very important state. Like, Israel is a cool state. It's one of the states that we care about. Not like Arkansas. Israel is an important state like Texas or California. Okay? And not like Wyoming or Arkansas, a state that nobody gives a fuck about. It has a tremendous amount of strategic interest to America's exploits in the region. Dude, my liberal-ass parents went from vehemently anti-Hamas at the start of this to entirely anti-Israel in the space of a month, and all they watch is MSNBC. That's what I'm saying. It's like, the more this shit happens, the more Israel is like indiscriminately or deliberately targeting fucking civilians, like the worse the people's opinion is going to get. Now, that's the other reason, like this, for example, okay? Christian mother, Christian daughter getting killed outside of a fucking church in Gaza. That is very powerful for the American Christian population that looks at this and goes, what the fuck? First of all, didn't even know there were Christians in Palestine. Didn't even know there were Christian Palestinians in general. They didn't even know that there was actually church in Gaza. Thought Hamas had made that illegal, right? Banladım bile kardeş yeter. My point is, they see that and they go, whoa. These guys they look white. The fuck? I didn't realize you were killing white Christians. Hello? Excuse me? That looks like she could be my aunt. You know, that type of shit.
The Pope himself condemned the killings. The Jerusalem patriarch of the Catholic Church said the women were murdered in cold blood by Israeli snipers as they walked to a convent in the compound, a point echoed this week by the Archbishop of Westminster in London.
Well, it's certainly a cold-blooded killing. That's the description that is given. And what absolutely puzzles me.
See, I told my mom Israel bombed the Christian church in Gaza, and it had her second guess Israel for like the first time in years. That's what I mean.
Is this does nothing to further Israel's right to defend itself, which I understand.
Israeli officials initially denied those reports, said they do not target civilians, no matter their religion. They now say they do not know what happened. We also don't definitively know what happened, in large part because Gaza is the most dangerous place in the world for journalists. And that brings us to the third incident.
There's two
On Friday, the legendary Gaza bureau chief for Al Jazeera, Wael al-Dawood, was wounded, and his cameraman, Samer Abu Daqqa, was killed as they covered the aftermath of an Israeli strike on a UN school that had been converted into a shelter. Now, you may remember Wael al-Dawood lost his wife, son, daughter, and infant grandson, all in Israeli airstrike already in October. And Samer was a good friend and colleague of my friend and colleague, Ayman Mohyeldin. They worked together in Gaza. Both those men risked their lives, like all journalists in Gaza, to do their job. The Israeli military said it has never and will never deliberately target journalists, that it takes operationally feasible.
That's bullshit. We know that's bullshit. Because of the other thing that they say all the time, which is that every single death, every single bomb is accounted for. And when it's not accounted for, when it's a oopsie accident, they fucking say it. Like when they killed their own hostages. They were like, oh shit, that was an accident. My bad, right? The rest of it is like, yeah, it's time. It's go time, you know? They're deliberately doing a lot of the fucking bombing. And that's why I sometimes feel weird saying like it's indiscriminate bombing, because it's not indiscriminate. I mean, I guess technically it's indiscriminate in the sense that they're using AI-generated targets, right? Which is questionable intel in general. But also, they are deliberately targeting fucking civilian buildings. Like, they're not like doing a oopsie. And it's on purpose. It's on purpose with a direct reason. The direct reason being breaking the will of the Palestinian population, engaging in an act of collective punishment with the express purpose of trying to get the Palestinian population to revolt against Hamas, even though ironically it is having the exact opposite effect. Because why the fuck would it do? Why the fuck would they have this impact? Like, on what planet would people be like, yeah, the group that's bombing us, the group that's bombing us that won't allow me to return to my fucking home, that killed my family members, I actually I want to thank them for blowing our shit up, rather than the group that's like defending us from the bombing and the direct boots on the ground invasion.
Measures to protect civilians and journalists. Now, there are two possibilities here. Either the Israeli military is intentionally targeting journalists to kill them and lying about it, or its methods of war making are so indiscriminate, in the words of Joe Biden, that more journalists have been killed in 2 months of this conflict than American reporters killed in 20 years in Vietnam. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, 68 journalists have died so far. And I will tell you, I'm actually inclined to believe it's the latter, because there are dozens, if not hundreds, of first-person and eyewitness accounts of deaths as wrenching and outrageous as the deaths of the hostages and the women in the church that are not journalists. And again, amidst the fog of war and the dangers for reporters, it is simply impossible to independently confirm them, and we need to be very careful.
By the way, gross piece of shit, Anthony Blinken had the audacity, the gall, to deliver a speech yesterday where he talked about all of the journalists that were slain this year, and he just kind of basically let it hang as though those journalists that were slain this year were just like slain, as though the journalists that were slain this year were just like slain, or just like they perished on their own, or a foreign adversary killed them. You know, who killed them, Anthony?
What we can and cannot definitively say happened in each instance. What we know for sure, though, is that the destruction of Gaza is nearly total. The vast majority of its 2.2 million residents displaced. Half are at risk of starvation. Nearly all hospitals destroyed. Only 4 are functioning, according to the UN. We don't know for sure how many deaths, but there are tens of thousands, most likely, with many bodies still trapped beneath the rubble. A fifth of Gaza's buildings are estimated to have been destroyed. In the North Gaza, more than 60% of the buildings have been severely damaged, according to analysis of satellite radar data. A U.S. intelligence assessment found that half of the bombs dropped were, quote, dumb bombs, that is, not targeted, but rather enormous explosives that blow up everything around them. No wonder, then, that the excellent veteran war correspondent Clarissa Ward entered Gaza with an Emirati medical team. When she did that, she compared the ruins she saw with her own eyes to other devastated war zones in Chechnya, Syria, and Ukraine.
A man and a 13-year-old boy are wheeled in, both missing limbs, both in a perilous state.
By the way, who gave them the dumb bombs is a good question as well, obviously. We're giving them the dumb bombs. Dumb bombs that are supposed to be going to Ukraine right now, as a matter of fact. In a defensive posture, this is something that they literally need, like artillery, tank shells, things of that nature. These are what are considered dumb bombs, right? They're not guided munitions. Like, and Ukraine was running out of it so much that they literally had to tap into the South Korean artillery. Fucking nutty, okay? Nutty.
Damn, this guy's good.